What's up guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome back. In this video we're going to try to recuperate my faulty Radeon 9800 Pro. There are a few options on the table like a reflow, but we might be able to fix it doing something a bit less radical. Stay tuned and see how we brought back this thing to proper working condition. Last month was GPU June and we did big brother little brother battles of video cards every week, and in one of those the Radeon 9800 Pro played the big brother while the 9600 Pro played the little brother. Turns out the 9800 Pro was giving me trouble to get through the tests, locking up after a few seconds of any game or benchmark. To try to fix this, I installed a monster of an aftermarket cooler on it, and keeping its temperature down, it was able to get through the tests. Although there was still some issues like glitching on the shadows and halo. This could be a solder joint issue. So as you know, metal expands and contracts depending on the temperature, and it makes sense to me that when it heats up, it changes the geometry of the metal parts and it loses connections in one or more solder joints. There are a few things we can do. A reballing is one of them. That basically means melting the current solder under the chip, removing the chip, cleaning everything, and with the proper stencil and new solder balls, solder the whole chip back, but you need an expensive rework station to do that. Another thing we can do, and that is expertly shown on this video by Nick Telio, a veteran technician, is a reflow. That basically is an attempt to try and reuse the current solder joints by reheating everything up to the point the current solder joint melts again, getting rid of any cracks there might be in between them. Yet, recently, I came across a video by Louis Rossman, another veteran technician and YouTuber, that says that reballing is worthless most of the time. Well, if reballing is worthless, I expect that reflowing is also worthless. He says on this video that what actually temporarily fixes the card is the heating up of the die. Does this make sense? I don't know, but I'm willing to test it out. Before doing anything, I want to test the 9800 Pro in its current state with the original cooler and see how long it goes before locking up. Before we do that, I want to remove the cooler, repaste it, and make sure it's in the best condition possible. One thing to note on these Radeon coolers is that they have this metal plane that is just about a millimeter off the rest of the cooler. And the cooler needs that because they use a metal shim to protect the die. Without this, the cooler wouldn't make direct contact to the die. I removed the shim to install the aftermarket cooler for the 9600 versus 9800 Pro video so that I could get the card to function properly. But with the original cooler back, I rather have the shim in so it protects the die a bit and it can be held by pressure. Okay, so it's repasted and the GPU cooler is repositioned, and on the back I want to make sure the plastic knobs that hold the cooler are holding it with enough pressure. For this, I'm going to put these pieces of twist tie that are metal but are covered in plastic so there isn't a chance of a short. Now I think the stock cooler is in its best shape possible, so let's go ahead and play some games and see if the video card holds up. With the revamp of the original cooler, it does hold up for a bit, but eventually the 9800 Pro fails or starts artifacting heavily, besides the shadow glitch and halo that's still there. So our goal for after the reflow is to have it running indefinitely and rendering everything properly. With luck. I've devised a way to get this 9800 Pro its best shot. First thing, as advised by Nick, I'm going to make sure it doesn't have any built-up moisture. I'm almost absolutely sure it doesn't because I used it recently and the city I live here is dry, but nevertheless, I'll leave it in the oven at 100°C for a couple of hours just to make sure. As for the repair, although I'm ready for the reflow, I want to go for the low-hanging fruit first and try what Louis suggested. We're going to heat up just the die to 150°C for 5 minutes, and if this makes the video card work, then it's not a reballing issue, it's an issue with the die, and all I can do is hope that it works for as long as possible. Well, turns out Louis Rossman was absolutely on point with this one. I didn't get anywhere near melting temperature of the solder joints. I kept the heat gun on the die at around 150°C for 5 minutes, and damn, that worked. I was able to play Halo until I got tired with no artifacts, and what was most impressive is that the shadows are back. No more messed up shadows. That's crazy. So there's no need for reballing or a reflow on this card. I'm going to count this one as a lucky shot and maybe try a reflow on something else if it needs to be done. So the 9800 Pro is back in working condition, and this is not known to be a permanent solution, but seeing as this card is not used daily, hopefully this thing will work for many years to come. And that was it for this video. I hope you got some useful information or at least had some fun. Don't forget to sub to the channel, click the bell icon so YouTube can notify you when I release new videos. Like the video if you enjoyed that baked video card. Dislike the video if you like using broken PC parts, and I'll see you next time.